Hello everybody, I'm Charlie from Dr. Wen, and welcome along to a brand new Doctor Who YouTube video. As promised, I am back, and today I thought I'd do a slightly different video. It's involved me doing a lot of maths in terms of what my scores out of 10 for each episode to get there, but I have made it, and it is episode 1 to 13's ranked. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, essentially I've been doing ranking videos where I rank all episode 1s across New Who, then episode 2s, then episode 3s, etc., and all the way up to episode 13s. And now, I thought I would rank all of those. So all episode 1s, the average of those. All episode 2s, the average of those. I thought I would rank those 13 numbers. So I'm going to be doing that today, and I hope you enjoy. Feel free to put your rankings down in the comments below, and like this video if you enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel if you like my daily Doctor Who content. So, without further ado, let's get into this video, and I hope you enjoy. So, in 13th place, we have episode 4s. Episode 4s aren't the most popular in Doctor Who. For example, Aliens of London is okay. We also have some other not that great episode 4s. For example, Arachnids in the UK. We've got Daleks in Manhattan from Series 3, Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror from Series 12. None of them are really all that brilliant. The only really good one I can think of is probably Series 9. We have Before the Flood, which is a brilliant story with Peter Capaldi's Doctor. But in general, I don't think episode 4s are all that special. I mean, in the early Moffat era, we do have some okay ones. We have the Time of Angels, which isn't too bad, but in general, episode 4s, they aren't exactly the highlight of the main series. Next up, in 12th place, we have episode 2s, some episodes which are usually very controversial. We do have some brilliant ones, for example in the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker era. Then we have Series 11's The Ghost Monument, which I really like, and it gives off a really good sort of vibe of this kind of new adventurous style. And we also have Spyfall Part 2, which I actually really enjoy, and prefer to Spyfall Part 1. In the Moffat era, we have some pretty good ones. Smile isn't the worst, but it isn't exactly the best either. We also have which is Familiar, which I actually incredibly enjoy, and we have Into the Dalek, which isn't that great, to be fair. In the early Moffat era, then we've got things like The Beast Below, which I actually quite like, and we've also got Day of the Moon, which is absolutely incredible. And in the Russell T Davies era, we have some okay ones. The End of the World, meh. Tooth and Claw, not very good. So those RTD era ones kind of lower this average down for me. In general though, there's still some saving graces, for example, The Ghost Monument and Spyfall Part 2. Next up, in 11th place, we have episode 3s, so yeah, right next to episode 2s, and again, lots of these aren't very good. In the 13th Doctor's era, then, we have Orphan 55 from Series 12, which isn't very good, and we have Rosa, which I actually incredibly enjoy. I gave it a 9.1 out of 10, so that isn't that bad. However, we also have some not very good ones. We have Gridlock, which isn't that bad, I suppose. We've got The Unquiet Dead, which is okay, not the best, not the worst. We have Thin Ice from the 12th Doctor's era in Series 10, which I actually really enjoy. And we also have other things in the early Stephen Moffat era, such as Victory of the Daleks, which I incredibly enjoy. And Curse of the Black Spot isn't that great. In general, though, it's not that bad. We've got A Town Called Mercy from Series 7, that's really good. So in general, it's a very mixed, there's very mixed episodes in this, and that's why it's lower down. Next up, we have episode 5s, actually. Episode 5s don't tend to be okay. We have the Saranga Conundrum from Series 11, and we have The Fugitive of the Jadoon from Series 12, both of which aren't that bad, actually. I actually quite enjoy them quite a bit. The Saranga Conundrum isn't as bad as everyone says it is, and Fugitive of the Jadoon is widely regarded as one of the best in the Chibnall era. However, we have things like Evolution of the Daleks from Series 3, we have we have World War III from Series 1, which isn't that great, and we have some other ones such as Rise of the Cybermen isn't that bad. Again, that's an 8.9 out of 10. But we also have things like the Sontaran Stratagem, which I'm not the greatest fan of. In general, it again pretty mixed and some pretty forgettable episodes, but still, still not bad. Still got some pretty good episodes in there, like Fugitive of the Jadoon and the Saranga Conundrum. Next up, we have episode 6's, another one that's kind of adjacent to its neighbour. Again, this one is very, very mixed. We have Praxeus and Demons of the Punjab, which I actually really, really enjoy, from the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker era. From the Stephen Moffat era, we've got very mixed things again. We've got Extremis, which I love. We've also got The Woman Who Lived, which I don't really like all that much. And then in Series 8, then we've got in Series 7, then we have The Bells of St. John, which isn't that bad, I suppose, and we've got The Caretaker from Series 8, which is pretty much a saving grace for this, because I love The Caretaker, it's so good, and we've got some other really good ones, such as, we've got The Almost People, which I think is pretty underrated, but in general, again, it's pretty mixed. We've got some fairly subpar Russell T Davies era entries in this, except for Dalek in Series 1. That is absolutely brilliant, and I love it. Next up, we have episode 9s, actually, which, in general, they're actually quite popular, to be honest. We have Ascension of the Cybermen, and It Takes You Away from Series 11 and 12, both of which are pretty brilliant episodes. We also have The Family of Blood, which I don't think is very bad, actually. I think it's actually pretty good. Then we've also got other things. We've got The Doctor Dances, I'm pretty sure, is in episode 9, or it might be The Empty Child, I don't know. That's very good. And we've also got some meh ones, such as Empress of Mars, I think, is in episode 9. We also have things like Sleep No More, which is my least favourite New Who episode ever. I really don't like it. In general, again, very mixed. Starting to get some really good episodes, though, like The Empty Child, The Family of Blood, It Takes You Away, and, we're getting up there in numbers in terms of how many brilliant episodes there are in each category. Next up, we have episode 10s. So this includes the finales of Series 11 and 12. I really hate the Battle of Ranskor Kolos for Series 11, but I really love the Timeless Children from Series 12, which is a pretty brilliant story. We also have other really good episodes, such as Face the Raven from Series 9. In Series 10, then we have The Eaters of Light, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's still passable. We have In the Forest of the Night from Series 8, which isn't that great. I give it a 7.7, and in the early Moffat era, then we've got things like, we have some really weird things like Vincent and the Doctor, which I find incredibly overrated, actually, and we also have, in Series 6, then we've got, Cold War. In Series 7 we've got Cold War, which I don't think is that bad. However, there's a very mixed one again. But it does include some finales, which are, in general, really good. However, the Battle of Ranskor Kolos was a bit of a letdown. But in general, episode 10s are still pretty good, to be honest. Next up, we have episode 7s. Wow, episode 7s are really good. In lots of series, I find sort of a slump towards the middle, but this is actually an exception for lots of series. We have The Pyramid at the End of the World from Series 10, which I actually really like. I think it's not the best, it's actually the worst in the Monk trilogy, but it's still really brilliant. We also have Kablam from Series 11, which I really like, and we also have Can You Hear Me, which is an incredibly underrated story from Series 12, probably the most underrated of the 13th Doctor's era. We also have The Long Game from the RTD era, which isn't that great, to be honest, and we've got other things like The Idiot's Lantern, which I don't really like, and again, it's very mixed. I think we've got The Pyramid at the End of the World, we have Kill the Moon, which I don't really like, but then again, we also have The Zygon Invasion, which I love. It's really mixed, probably the most mixed in this list. Next up, we have episode 1s. the openers to all these series. In general, they're pretty good actually. We've got Rose, which I think is slightly overrated, but still pretty good. We also have New Earth, which isn't that great, but Smith and Jones is really, really good. Partners in Crime isn't that great. 11th Hour, really, really good. Impossible Astronaut, again, incredible. Asylum of the Daleks, underrated. Deep Breath, really good. Magician's Apprentice, really good. Not as good as some of the others, but still really, really good. And we also have the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker era ones with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which isn't the strongest, it's still really good, and Spyfall is an incredible story. They're all pretty solid entries, except maybe for series 2 and 4, but those entries are still passable, they're still really, really good. Next up, we have Episode 8. Wow, Episode 8 is towards the final stretch of some of these series, and it gets really, really good here. In the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era, we do have some slight clunkers in the form of The Witchfinders and The Haunting of Villa Diodati, neither of which I really am a huge fan of. However, we do have some really, really good ones. The Lie of the Land, my favourite story in the Monk trilogy, we have that as an Episode 8 in Series 10. We also have the Zygon Inversion, which has that brilliant Peter Capaldi speech, and we also have Father's Day, as you can see here, which I actually think is probably the most underrated Ninth Doctor story there has been. And we also have some other okay ones that aren't brilliant, but they're still passable, such as in The Mummy on the Orient Express, which I don't think is very bad at all. I actually really enjoy it with the dynamic between the 12th Doctor and Clara. In general, Episode 8, they're all really good, but they aren't perfection. However, there's no real bad episodes within this, which is why it's so high up. Next up, Episode 11's. Wow. This is, again, towards the final stretch of lots of these series, and the first entry in this list that doesn't include any 13th Doctor episodes. There are only 10 Episode 11s, in the form of my favourite Doctor Who episode of all time, which is World Enough and Time. We also have some other really, really good ones. We have Heaven Sent, which, again, is really, really good. My second favourite episode of all time. What else do we have? We have Dark Water, which is incredible, chilling Cyberman story with Missy or the Master. It's really, really good. And we have some other, pretty solid entries. The only clunker I can think of really is probably Boomtown from Series 1. That isn't the best, and it's just kind of a bit of filler before the finale. In general, though, loads of still really, really strong stories. Oh yeah, and we've got Fear Her, which I don't really like at all. But we got Utopia as well, which is incredible. In general, this is really good for the Russell T Davies era as well. Series 3 and 4's entries in this are incredibly strong, like Turn Left. And yeah, some really, really good episodes. Hardly any bad ones, but the ones that are good are really, really good. Next up, Episode 12's. You may be thinking, what? Episode 12's? Episode 11's had Heaven Sent. Episode 12's have Hellbent, which isn't as good. Yes, but in general, the overall average is still really good. We have The Doctor Falls, my third favourite Doctor Who episode of all time. Hellbent isn't as bad as everyone says it is. Death in Heaven is as brilliant as ever with a 9.8 out of 10. And we also have some other really good entries from the Russell T Davies era. We have The Stolen Earth, which is pretty incredible. Army of Ghosts, which is good, but a bit overrated maybe. And we've also got The Parting of the Ways, which is a brilliant exit for the Ninth Doctor. In general, some really, really good stories, and yeah, there's hardly any bad stories within this, really. The only one I can think of at the moment is Closing Time from Series 6, and this has some other really good early Stephen Moffat entries, such as, we've got Nightmare in Silver, which is incredibly underrated, and we've also got Series 5's, which is a Pandorica Opens, part 1 of the finale. Really, really good. In first place, we have Episode 13's, the final episode of the first 7 series. Series 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 only have 12 episodes. They don't even have episode 13s. So this only includes 7 entries. And I'm going to talk quite a bit about each one because I've still got a lot of time left. Name of the Doctor is brilliant. It's really, really good. It resolves the Impossible Girl arc, and the Whisper Men are incredible villains. We've got The Wedding of River Song, which is a bit underrated, still a bit weird and clunky, but I quite like it, and it resolves the whole Impossible Astronaut arc. And then we've got other things such as The Parting of the Ways, which is a really good exit for the Ninth Doctor, as I said before. And we've also got Doomsday, which is again a bit overrated, and but it does seem one of my least favourite companions ever leave. In general, still really good, and yeah, episode 13s are just plain brilliant, to be honest. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video, everybody. Like I said, feel free to put your ranking of these down in the comments below if you want, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my daily Doctor Who content. I'm still a small YouTuber, so I'd really appreciate it if you did click that subscribe button. I'd really like it, and it would be incredibly helpful. So, next time. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing Chapter 6 of Count Your Shadows. It all ends here. We find out who is the Minister of War and what is going on with Ian and the Doctor. I will see you then, and goodbye.